leadership contest a couple of weeks ago. Clear majority of the parliamentary party voted to support Boris Johnson remaining the leader of the Conservative Party. I think what voters want more than anything else is for us to be delivering on those big issues, and I think that's what they expect MPs and the government to be focusing on rather than internal squabbles. I don't think anyone's going to thank us if we plunge the party and the government to 3 month long leadership contest in which it looks like senior ministers, whether it's the Foreign Secretary, Education Secretary, Defence Secretary, whoever else that they may stand, appears to be more interested in their own leadership campaigns than in the important jobs that they've got, tackling those really big issues here and abroad. And so I think we do need to obviously now get down, focus on the job and deliver for those people, remind them why they voted for us and give them a reason to vote for us again.
Thank you. That's Mike Wood, Conservative MP for Dudley South. Really appreciate your time this evening, Mike. Well, you've heard from all the main parties there. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think the by-elections overnight said about the state of our politics? Is it a referendum? Were they a referenda on Boris Johnson? Should he go for the good of the Tories or the good of the country? Or, as you've been hearing, as Mike Wood was saying, should he simply get his head down, get on with the job? He was given a mandate from the British people. Do you now want to see him delivering on that, or do you want to see him leaving Downing Street? 0345 60 60 973. Your calls on this coming up. First, it's 6:32. Let's get some news headlines from Amelia Cox.
The US Supreme Court has overturned women's right to abortion, which it has protected for almost 50 years. Hillary Clinton says it's a step backwards, while Donald Trump has described it as the biggest win for life in a generation. The Prime Minister says he will listen and learn from 2 heavy by-election defeats. Conservative Party Chairman Oliver Dowden has stepped down following losses in Tiverton and Honiton and Wakefield. And the Transport Secretary is calling on rail workers to cancel tomorrow's strike. Members of the RMT union are walking out in a row over working conditions, pay and job security, but Grant Shapps says it's damaging the lives of everyday citizens. LBC's weather: showers pushing into northern England and Scotland tonight, a low of 8 degrees.
LBC. I'm David Lammy here on LBC. The country is seizing up. There are queues at our airports, queues at our ports, queues at our passport offices. Across the board, people are facing administrative logjams, severe delays in getting the documents that they desperately need for their livelihood and their safety. The Home Office has utterly lost control of the situation. Join me, David Lammy, tomorrow from 4. Listen on your radio and on Global Player. LBC.
Everyone's got an ex-doppelganger, someone that looks like you.
I even shop like you.
And we both know how to make the most of our shopping. The Nectar card.
No, the Nectar app.
Eh? With Nectar you can collect and spend points at Argos and Sainsbury's.
But with the app, there's also personalised discounts and bonus points on products you buy most at Sainsbury's.
But
plus hundreds of brands to discover and collect points at, like eBay, Esso and Just Eat.
What?
Nectar. Get the app, get more. Personalised discounts require smart shop. Exclusions apply. For full T's and C's, visit nectar.com/app-terms.
Starting route to summer holiday. Continue straight after Are We There Yet? Exit for BP, Who's Hungry? Continue towards tempting treats, seriously tasty sandwiches, and a much-needed latte. At the next left, break into the snacks. Merge left for the toilet break Jack said he didn't need.
Whatever this summer brings, pick up amazing quality, great value food and drink from your nearest BP store.
You have arrived.
BP, here for all of life's journeys.
The world is in imbalance. Technology has turned people into products. It has served us, but it has also harmed us. We believe it doesn't have to be this way. We've created a platform where we hope people feel loved, valued and empowered, and where you are paid every time you watch an ad. This is We Are 8, the people's platform.
T's and C's apply. Redeem through PayPal. Fees charged.
We Are 8. Reclaim your power and get money in your pocket. Download the app today.
At Vodafone, save £240 with the Samsung Galaxy S22. Its revolutionary cameras mean you can take clear, bright night shots, giving you 24 hours of daylight. Yours from £38 per month plus £29 up front, with a huge 100 gigs of data. Go online or in store. Vodafone, the UK's reliable award-winning network.
CPI plus 3.9% annual increase. Ends 7th of July. Subject to device and airtime plans. Credit check, eligibility and terms. Info at vodafone.co.uk. Credit by Vodafone.
Ben Kentish on LBC. Call 03
0345 6060 973.
6:35 is the time. In just a moment, we'll get the latest on the strikes, the third this week planned for tomorrow, what disruption we should expect, and what it all means. Firstly, let's get back to our conversation about Boris Johnson. Diane has texted in saying, Ben, it's so frustrating listening to the MPs on your show making the same old excuses. They don't seem to get the severity of last night's result. The country is fed up. The Conservative Party is known as the joke party. They seem to tell a lot of jokes that are just not funny. That's Diane. She says, thanks, Ben. Have a nice weekend. And to you, Diane. Grant in West Sussex says, I can't listen to any more Tories suggesting that Boris is still electable. I'm off. Don't do that, Grant. There's still so much more to come. What do you think on this? 0345 6060 973. George is in Troon in Scotland. George, good evening.
Good evening.
What do you think, sir?
Well, yesterday did not change my opinion of Boris Johnson in any way. I have regarded him for many years as a buffoon, not a serious politician, very witty and very clever, but not a serious politician. I remember years ago when he was first an MP, was it Maidenhead? It was before he became Mayor of London. Henley, yes, that's right. He was on Question Time, and the audience were laughing at him derisively, even before he had said anything. I phoned up Conservative Party next morning to complain about it, but they sort of they hadn't heard the programme, whatever the reason. But nothing has changed over the years. Each time I've seen him and performing in any role, he manages to bumble it, and his handling of the pandemic, people say, that was very good. But when it came to the daily presentations, comparing him with Nicola Sturgeon, who was still imparting very bad news, but she imparted it with authority, was persuasive, let us feel that she had a grasp of the thing, whereas he came on and he bombed.
In 200 yards at Wagoners Roundabout, take the second exit onto the Parkway, A312.
People liked how he handled the pandemic for the most part.
Well, yes. Well, not in Scotland, of course. The whole debate is not about Conservative versus Labour, but is it Nicola Sturgeon versus Boris?
Is there someone who, particularly in Scotland, you think would do better than Boris Johnson within the Conservative Party, that if they elected somebody different would be able to turn the current polls around?
Yes. Well, I mean, there are a number of people that come over well. There's Truss, Sari Javid, Tom Tugendhat, Jeremy Hunt. These are all people that could present themselves as serious politicians. They might struggle a bit, but I mean, unless the Conservative Party make this change fairly rapidly, they're going to lose the next election by a landslide. That's my view, and I say this as a lifelong Conservative. It doesn't give me any joy. I want to see them back again.
Will you vote for the Conservatives next time around, George?
Yes.
You will, even if Boris Johnson's still in charge, giving you a
yes, I can say that in that I'm in a constituency which is currently held by an SNP member, a very capable woman, and has a very strong local following. But I won't.
Exit the roundabout onto the Parkway.
My faith in the Conservative.
Continue on the Parkway for 1 mile.
George in Scotland. Back to this in just a moment. First, let's get an update on the strikes that are taking place tomorrow. Further disruption set to grip the country. Lisa Francesca Nan joins me now, travel journalist and host of the Big Travel podcast. Lisa, good to speak to you this evening. What do we need to know about tomorrow? It's going to be another day of chaos, is it?
Busy again, but I don't know about you. I know we talk about chaos, and it is our job on the news to report on such things, but I've been travelling around quite happily on the tube and trains for the last few days between the strikes, so I think people got the message, that working from home, if you could, of course not many people can, not everyone can work from home. There's going to be plenty of jobs that can't be done from home, and also people have found alternative forms of transport. Of course, for those of you who can't find alternative forms of transport or work at home and have got pressing issues. You know, there's events on, there's big parties on, there's Glastonbury, we've got BST in Hyde Park. Of course, that can be very difficult. So, but for the most part, it seems that people have managed to sort of, you know, scramble their way around things. It doesn't make things much fun, but we're trying to be as flexible as possible.
And this is the last planned strike that we know of, but the RMT are threatening further strikes in the weeks to come.
Yes, absolutely. There's also another union that are threatening strikes as well, so there might well be an issue. And you know what, like with all travel at the moment, which I of course have got my head across all travel, you know, we're going to be facing strikes with EasyJet, with Ryanair, with BA, and it just seems that workers are, you know, probably rightly in many ways disgruntled about things. Of course, it doesn't make it better for us.
In a quarter of a mile, at Cranford Parkway interchange, take the second exit onto the M4 slip road to Heathrow Airport, M25.
People are just not happy with their jobs. So yeah, there might well be more strikes on the rails. It looks like there might well be during the course of the summer. So it's just something we'll have to unfortunately look out for.
Lisa, thank you. Good to speak to you. Lisa Francesca Nan, travel journalist and host of the Big Travel podcast. Lots of text coming in on this. Ben, I'm sick and tired of hearing Conservative MPs being interviewed and all they seem to do is answer from the script. I believe this goes for the majority of the general public. We are sick of it. Do they not have a mind of their own? And it's all about saving a liar. That is someone who says ex-Conservative voter, X in capital letters, no name on that one. Similar sentiment from Loy. Hi Ben, your last speaker, Mike Wood, is
exit the roundabout onto the slip road.
He would acknowledge that the PM needs to go for the tourists.
In a quarter of a mile, merge onto M4.
Any Tory thinks they're in a safe seat, think again. Lots of people saying similar. If you are still backing Boris Johnson, if you still think he is the right man for the job, let me know why. 0345 60 60 973. Ewan is calling from Flintshire in Wales. Hello, Ewan.
Hi, Ben.
Hello. What did you want to say?
Yeah, first time caller, big fan of the show. I just wanted to basically voice what I think is the opinion that the majority of people in Britain have, that Boris Johnson has never been fit to be Prime Minister, will never be fit to be Prime Minister, and just really shouldn't be there.
What would your message to Tory MPs who are this weekend mulling over whether they need a change be, Ewan? Do you think someone else would do better than he has? In some ways, a lot of those MPs say, look, when you look at what happened in 2019, can we really discount him and not bank on the fact that he was popular then, he's got what it takes to turn this around?
The thing is, I think it would be very difficult for someone to do a worse job than he's doing. The Tory MPs are only loyal to Boris Johnson for one thing, and that's his ability to win elections. And 4 times out of 5 in the last by-elections we had, he's failed to do that. So I genuinely don't know why Conservative MPs are still loyal to him. You know, he's not going to win the next general election. He's just not.
And what about Labour, Ewan? Are you convinced by Keir Starmer? Would you like Labour and the Lib Dems to work more closely together to try and get Starmer into Downing Street?
Personally, I like Keir Starmer. I think he's a far cry from Boris Johnson. He's an honest guy. He actually believes in what he says. I think he's a decent politician. I know he's not the most naturally charismatic man, and some of the things he said can be a bit, cringeworthy, but he's a good man. He's a good politician, and he'd be a damn sight better politician than Boris Johnson. And on the Lib Dem thing, I personally think it would be a good idea because, Lib Dem can balance out some of the things, some of the more extreme things that Labour wants to put forward, and certainly there'd be a Labour-Lib Dem coalition would be so much better than the current government we've got in, which I don't think is a Conservative government in principle.
Ewan, good to speak to you tonight. Let's go to Chesington. Bill's calling from Chesington. Bill, do you agree with Ewan?
Yes, very much so, Ben. Basically, my gripe, if you want to call it that, is that I was watching a lot of the news about this. The Conservatives seem to be putting out that at one point Johnson couldn't do any wrong. Basically, they thought his selling point was everyone listening to him. But no one is listening to him now. And no matter what he says or what he promises, they all know that it's all going in one and out the other. No one wants to listen to this. And basically, when it comes to the next guy just said that, 5 elections, they've got the hammer. So, at the end of the day, unless they listen to people, which they aren't doing, and don't keep backing them up and saying, we know you are a loser, and basically you are not the man for the job. And he won't go unless he's pushed. It's as easy as that.
People aren't. Part of the reason he's still there, Bill, I think, when you talk to Conservative MPs, is they believe that the opposition is not making life difficult enough for the Tories. They believe ultimately they've got quite a weak opponent. And when you look at the result, in Wakefield, for example. Yes, the Tory vote went down 17%. That's clearly a disaster for them. Labour's vote only went up 8%. Do you think Labour need to change leader too?
No, I don't think so. At the moment, really speaking, the only thing they've got on Starmer is the fact that they call him the drink. So basically, and he's already promised that if he comes wrong, he'll go. Well, you can't say fairer than that, can you?
Fair enough. Bill, good to speak to you. Bill in Chesington there. What do you think on this? 0345 60 60 973. Lots more of your calls coming up. It's 6:45.
This is LBC.
In a quarter of a mile, keep right to stay on M4.
Minutes, great rates. You pay monthly. Carmoola, the future of car finance. Representative 14.8% APR.
Today's tale begins the night the internet went down at the Smith family. Son? The dad watched on powerless as his son aged before his eyes.
Again, it's been
Keep right to stay on M4.
Save yourself from broadband nightmares. Get BT's unbreakable hybrid broadband backed up by EE, the UK's best network. Search BT Hybrid Broadband. 88% UK availability. 4G connection takes up to 175 seconds. Best for mobile network performance. Verify at ee.co.uk/claims.
At Tesco, you don't have to wait until the till to see your bill. Scan as you shop keeps an eye on your spending as you shop. So you'll know exactly what money will be going out while your shopping is going in, which makes keeping track on spending so much easier. It's just one of the things we're doing to help you spend less with us. Tesco, because right now, every little helps. Available in the majority of larger stores. Club card or app required.
Hula hoops puffed. Sense its lightness, its puffiness. Unleash the delicious taste of Hula-licious. Hula-lightful. Hula hoops puffed. Light puffy hoops in a range of delicious flavours and 72 calories per pack. Hula-licious. Hula-lightful.
At TalkTalk, we're helping the nation to save money on their broadband. If you're out of contract on your superfast fibre, you could save £338 on average by switching to TalkTalk, which is £24.45 a month for 24 months and no setup fees. So switch now and save big. Search TalkTalk. TalkTalk for everyone. CPI plus 3.7% annual increase from April 2023. Average saving on fibre 65 versus competitors publicly available out of contract non-promotional pricing on 9th May 22. Ends 30th July, subject to availability.
Ben Kentish, tweet at LBC.
6:47 is the time. Ian in Loughborough says, Ben, perhaps Tory MPs can oust Johnson this weekend and he can build a new life for himself in Rwanda. That's Ian in Loughborough. I suspect the Prime Minister wishes he wasn't in Rwanda right now, facing a potential another coup from his own MPs. The no name on this text, Ben, it's great Liberal Democrats and Labour have combined to get rid of the Tories who used this in 2019 when Farage gave Johnson's his voters. Revenge will be sweet, says this texter. Nick says the only electorate which has backed Johnson over the last year is Tory MPs, the tactically smart voters.
In a quarter of a mile, keep right to stay on M4.
The swing in Wakefield would put Starmer in number 10. That's Nick in Oxford. Let's go to Northwich. Alice, hello. Hi, Alice.
Oh, hello, Ben, yes. I've been amused that you suggest he should stay in Rwanda, brilliant, but actually I feel quite ambivalent about it.
Keep right to stay on M4.
More than I do, because he's done absolutely huge damage to the nation, and if he stays, he's obviously going to do more. But on the other hand, if he stays, there could be such a Tory wipeout at the next election that it will put them back in their box for the time being, and we can have some decent government.
Alice, if you don't mind me asking, you're a Labour supporter? You're a Lib Dem?
No, at the moment I'm a floating
Are you? Okay.
I nearly voted Tory last time, and I would have done because we had a very decent MP, Antoinette Sandbach.
Yeah.
And then she was sent down by Boris.
Yeah.
And so then she stood for the Liberals. So I voted for her. So I voted for the Liberals last time.
What do you think you'll do next time round, Alice?
Well, to be honest, I will vote for whoever I think can get rid of them all. I shall find out when it gets nearer the time, who's the most likely one to do it, and I will vote for them.
What specifically has put you off him? You say he's done great damage to the country. What do you mean?
Where do you start? I mean, right, I said Partygate, that was terrible. Huge corruption. I mean, that's not just from me. I mean, when you have a Lord of the Treasury resigning because £29 billion a year goes out from the Treasury in fraud, you know? It's just absolutely mind-boggling. And for all that he's in Ukraine at the moment, I mean, there's been a total mess, I suppose, of Ukrainian refugees. And more than that, of course, we've got a close crony of Putin in the House of Lords, which I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable that we should have somebody who's a lord of wherever in this country and somewhere else in Russia.
Siberia, yeah.
Just beyond belief, and again, you know, corruption, the money that goes to from the oligarchs. That I think it's only the tip of the iceberg that we know. I mean, you know, I could go on.
Lots of reasons, Alice. I sense that you could. Let me just speak to you, Alice in Northwich. Let's go to Eddie in Belfast. Eddie, what do you think, sir?
Hey Ben, how are you? I just want to say big fan of the show. And I'm a bit of a contradiction. You know, I'm a Scotsman living in Northern Ireland who has no voice, right? But anyway, that is beside the point. If you were to poll people 10, 15 years ago and say, look, Donald Trump would be in power and Boris Johnson wouldn't be in power, they would fucking laugh. Excuse the language. They would absolutely laugh at you.
In 2 miles, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central.
You know, I just feel so disgusted that we've got people in power on both sides of the Western Front of the world that, I mean, is it any wonder Putin feels he can take advantage? We've got a farce going on right now. An absolute farce.
Okay. Eddie in Belfast, apologies for Eddie's language there if anyone's offended. Apologies from me on Eddie's behalf. Let's go to Tom in Beckenham. Tom.
Hi Ben, how are you?
Good, thank you. How are you, Tom?
Yeah, really good. Thanks.
Good stuff.
You're doing a great job.
Thank you. It's very kind. Thank you, Tom. What do you think?
My point was, I think we're almost definitely heading for a coalition government. And the reason why is you know and I know that Labour can't get a majority without having MPs in Scotland. So we're probably going to end up with Labour in England, the SNP vote in Scotland, 5, and Labour in Wales, and whoever in Northern Ireland. And probably we're going to end up with a coalition government from all over the UK, ruling the UK. I don't really see what the big problem is with that.
What do you think the coalition would be, Tom? Labour SNP, Labour Lib Dem? What are we talking here?
I think the problem is that we're going to have to work that out, because that's what's going to happen. Because you can already see that the Conservative Party is effectively just the English Conservative Party, which also brings up a really interesting question: is that Boris Johnson has never lost an election, and will he then try to stay on as the leader of the English Conservatives? I don't know, but at the moment...
But Tom, as you say, let's just, on that point, he's never lost an election. He won London, which was a Labour city. He got a majority of 80 of the Tories in 2019. Are we completely sure that he hasn't got, given that, the ability to turn this around in time for the next election?
I don't know. I very much doubt it. I think that generally the voters, the die is cast quite a long way out. I don't think the little bit of campaign in the last 30 days makes much of a difference.
It's certainly going to be difficult.
In a 1/4 mile, at junction 6, take the A355 exit to Slough Central.
Seats in the council, that was a mixed result. No, it wasn't. It was a disaster. He's lost these by-elections. That's a bad result, but he doesn't seem to see it that way. Now, it's going to be interesting. Look at the track.
Exit at junction 6.
That he's lost. At the moment, he doesn't seem to be able to accept anything. You see his answer to Beth Rigby in the press.
In a 1/4 mile, at the roundabout, take the 3rd exit onto Tons Lane, A355.
A lot of problems unless they get rid of him, because he's just not going to go.
Well, I think a lot of Tory MPs are doing a lot of thinking this weekend, Tom. Well, you talked about coalition there. On this question of whether the left-wing parties, if we can call them that, should work more closely together as the best way for them to be in government, to be in power, to oust the Conservatives, would you like to see Plaid, the SNP perhaps, but particularly Labour and the Lib Dems, working more closely together? Or do you think that would put voters off because it risks looking like a stitch-up?
I think they have to work in the areas where they're good and where they're strong. I don't think they have to work necessarily together in that place. I think they just have, the SNP are obviously strong in Scotland. And when you talk about left wing and right wing, what are the left wing parties?
Let's look at the anti-conservative parties there.
Anti-conservative.
That's the point I was trying to make to Alistair Carmichael. It seems pretty obvious to me that Labour and the Liberal Democrats have more in common at this point in time than the Liberal Democrats and the Tories. And yet something is stopping the Lib Dems effectively saying that, and they rebut it and they fight against it really hard.
Exit the roundabout onto Tons Lane.
Effectively propping up Keir Starmer.
Yeah, but then, that's politics. There, as you know, there's quite a big blurry line in some parts of the country, and the danger there is that, remember what happened last time with the Brexit Party? They became the kind of, if you like, the meat and the sandwich in between Labour and Conservative, and they lent, if you like, they lent their votes to the Conservative.
In a quarter of a mile, slight left towards Sippenham Lane.
But as I said, in general, I said, take tectonic. We're already in the place where Conservatives will not have a majority of the next election. It's now a question of who's going to form that majority and how it's going to work.
Tom, I'm going to leave it there because there's lots of calls to get in. Thank you, Tom and Beckingham. Let's go to Glenn. Glenn, do you agree with Tom there that Boris Johnson cannot, whatever he does, turn this around?
No, I don't. I think he's in the political hospice. I think he's dying politically, but he doesn't know it yet, and he won't accept it. And I don't think the Tory party are like...
Slight left towards Sippenham Lane.
There's no way back for him. Nobody believes what he says. I think he's fatally wounded by Partygate, and there's the issue about lying in Parliament. I mean, that's still got to, that's going to the Standards Committee. All that's looming in the future, and I just don't think there's any way back for him. But I think, having said that, I listened to Tom earlier on, and he had David Lammy on, and the Labour Party have got...
Continue for 1.5 miles.
Like I said, there's room for improvement, and he can do it. I listened to him on Wednesday in Prime Minister's Questions, and he put in a really strong performance.
He was better. He had a pretty torrid 2 weeks before that, though, Glenn, and he's very inconsistent still.
That's what I'm saying. He's sort of the Jack Grealish of politics.
I think he'd take that.
Yeah, but
with slightly longer socks,
and then he disappears, and you can't do that. If you want to be Prime Minister, you've got to be there up front. And the other point is, it's Brexit as well with the Labour Party. Tom put a series of very reasonable, relevant questions to David Lammy about Brexit, and David Lammy just didn't want to talk about that. And you can't ignore the issue. Brexit is an issue. It's not finished. There's so many outstanding issues with Brexit, and the Labour Party's got to deal with that. It can't keep burying its head in the sand and not dealing with it.
Well, it's not just Brexit. Issue after issue, immigration, freedom of movement, even these strikes. Trying to draw out what Labour actually thinks is like trying to extract blood from a stone. That's not sustainable.
I think you're right, Ben, but I mean, I've only got so much time, haven't I?
You have, but I'm glad I'm agreeing with you. And I think, talking to Alison McGovern at the top of the show, it struck me that she was effectively agreeing too. She said, look, we need to do more to set out what we think and so on. There seems to be a recognition that they need to do that. The question that begs, of course, is, well, what's stopping them?
Well, I think when that will happen, when there's a Labour Party conference, I think it's September, isn't it?
There's rumours that it will happen before that, Glenn, yeah.
Well, I think the latest, because what they've got to do, they've got to have the debate, and they've got to convince people